Good afternoon. My name is Holly Cuellar, and I serve as the chairperson of the Virginia Beach Planning Commission, and I'd like to welcome everyone here today for the June 11th, 2025 Planning Commission public hearing. Commissioner Anderson is unable to be with us today, and we do have a vacancy for District Number 10. We are anticipating a new commissioner to be joining us shortly. Before we start, I have asked Commissioner Byler to lead us in prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Mouch. If you could please stand.
We look to the heavens to give thanks and ask for divine guidance. Thank you for the beautiful strawberry moon and the beauty of the season. Thank you for the privilege of living in a country that ensures us the freedom of speech while respecting the safety of all. Please grant us wisdom and decorum to receive and respect diverse opinions today and always. May we never take for granted the blessing of self-government and the opportunity to have our voices heard. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd ask the commission to introduce themselves, starting to my right, and then our planning administrator, Caitlin Alcock, will introduce the staff.
Tori Eisenberg, Deputy City Attorney.
Michael Mach, I have the pleasure of serving the city as the at-large representative.
Walter Camp, serving District 1, Kempsville area.
John Cromwell, District 2, Pungo and Blackwater.
Catherine Byler, District 4, which is generally town center and the surrounding area, all the way up to Newtown Road and the Norfolk border.
My name is Holly Cuellar, and I represent District 8.
And I'm John Costin, and I represent District 9.
George Alcaraz, District 5.
Brian Plumley, representing beautiful District 6 from historic SeaTac to the north end.
Susan Hippen, representing District 7, Salem, Tallwood, College Park.
Caitlin Alcock, Planning Administrator. Clerking to my left, we have Kristen Bauer and Alexis Bailey. In the audience, we have Planning Director Kathy Warren, Deputy Director Carrie Bookholt. With our Planning Administration team, we have Marshall Coleman and Mike Hayes. We have our Zoning Administrator Kevin Kemp, Deputy Zoning Administrator Brandon Hackney. Other planning staff, we have Lane Harrington, Rachel Miller, and then with IT support, Toya Bailey and Faith Velasquez.
Thank you very much. I do have one announcement. I'd like to share with everyone that we've received a letter of resignation from Commissioner George Alcaraz. It's certainly a bittersweet moment for all of us. George is our most senior member of the commission, and his service has been invaluable to our city. We're very fortunate that George is only moving outside of his district. He's not leaving the city, so we know that we'll see him around. Personally, I'd just like to thank George for welcoming me when I became a commissioner, and I know I'm better because of you. And so for that, I want to thank you. We will have an opportunity to officially recognize his service and Commissioner Parks at our next meeting. But I would also allow at this time the commissioners to thank George if they'd like to say a few words, because you're really going to be missed.
I would just like to thank George personally for his work as chairman this past year. He was a terrific mentor to all of us, kept the meetings moving forward, very disciplined, and was available at all times to help and assist, whether or not we were in a meeting or outside of a meeting with something technical that I was unfamiliar with. So I really appreciate that, and I know I'll see you around. So thank you.
Commissioner Byler.
George, I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss hearing all the stories of what's going on at the oceanfront, because you are the man who knows everything at the oceanfront. And thank you so much for welcoming me when I joined 2 years ago. And you are always available for any questions I might have, even though I may not have liked the answer, but you are always available. We'll miss you.
Commissioner Camp and then Commissioner Mouch.
George, of course, I'll miss you. We are involved in other things, and I know we'll see you there. But in relation to this commission, I use the video replay of meetings that you chaired as models to teach others how to conduct a meeting of this nature. Your decorum, your kindness, your discipline are truly models that others can learn from. And thank you for your service here in that fashion. Our city was highly elevated because of your role as chair.
George, thank you for your devotion to this city, not just this commission, but you do so much for our community. Your friendship is invaluable, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the future holds for you and for the rest of our community. Thank you.
Commissioner Hippen.
I really am going to miss you. No, you were a steady guiding hand when I first came on here, and I appreciate it.
Vice Chair.
Well, I've known you for, I don't know how many years now. 30. And it's been a pleasure to work with you during these past 5 or 6 years. And I expect to see you back.
And now, pardon me, Commissioner Cromwell.
George, it's been a short time that I've known you, but I've certainly admired your leadership as being chairman of the Planning Commission. And I would say that anybody that can put together the Jackalope leadership will certainly be missed. And thank you.
And now, without further ado, the man himself.
Oh, thank you all. I do appreciate it, and with sincere gratitude, I appreciate the opportunity to be in on the Planning Commission, and I will miss all of you. I hope maybe one day I'll come back. But Holly, thank you for being there for me. And Kathy, I want to say good job. I've seen a big change, and thank you with the planning department. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, I'd like to ask the clerk to please describe the rules and order of business for today's meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Virginia Beach Planning Commission takes pride in being fair and courteous to all parties in attendance. It is important that all involved understand how the commission normally conducts its meetings. It is equally important that everyone treat each other and the members of the commission with respect and civility. We request that cell phones be put on silent during this meeting. This is an abbreviated explanation of the rules. The complete set of rules is located in the front of the Planning Commission agenda. Following is the order of business for this public hearing. Withdrawals and deferrals. The chairperson will ask if there are any requests to withdraw or defer an item on the agenda. Consideration of these requests will be made first. Consent agenda. The second order of business is the consideration of the consent agenda, which are those items that the Planning Commission believe are unopposed and which have favorable staff recommendation. Regular agenda. The commission will then proceed with the remaining items on the agenda. When an agenda item has been called, we will recognize the applicant or their representative first. Following the applicant or their representative, in-person speakers will be called next, and then speakers participating via WebEx. Speakers in support or opposition of an agenda item will have 3 minutes to speak per item, unless they are solely representing a large group, such as a civic league or homeowners association, in which case they will have 10 minutes per item. If a speaker does not respond or if a technical issue occurs which renders the comments unintelligible, we will move on to the next speaker or the next order of business. Please note that the actions taken by the Commission today are in the form of a recommendation to the Virginia Beach City Council. The final decision to approve or disapprove an application will be made by the City Council. The Commission thanks you for your attendance, and we hope that your experience here today leaves you feeling that you have been heard and treated fairly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Before we go to our agenda, we will need to vote on a series of Planning Commission minutes. And at this time, I'd like to open for a motion from the Commission on our minutes.
I'd like to make the series of motions, Madam Chair. For the minutes of the May 14th informal session, I'd like to move for adoption as corrected.
Second.
There's a motion for the approval of the May 14th informal Planning Commission minutes with modification by Commissioner Camp, second by Commissioner Plumley. Any further discussion?
Bless you.
Just be a minute, thank you.
Sorry, give us just 1 second. At this time, we're just going to go ahead and do a verbal vote. If you could just please wait until I call your name before giving your response, that would be great. Up first, Commissioner Alcaraz,
Aye.
Commissioner Byler,
Aye.
Commissioner Camp,
Aye.
Vice Chair Costin,
Aye.
Commissioner Cromwell,
Aye.
Madam Chair Cuellar,
Aye.
Commissioner Hippen,
Aye.
Commissioner Munch,
Aye.
and Commissioner Plumley.
Aye.
By a recorded vote of 9-0, the May 14th, 2025 informal minutes have been recommended for approval with modifications.
Madam Chair, I move that the minutes of the May 14th formal session and the May 21st Comprehensive Plan Planning Workshop be deferred until our next meeting to allow time for the commissioners to review them fully and submit any necessary revisions or corrections.
Second.
We have a motion for deferral for the May 14th formal Planning Commission hearing minutes and the May 21st Comprehensive Plan Workshop minutes by Commissioner Camp, seconded by Commissioner Plumley.
We're going to go ahead and do another verbal vote, starting with Commissioner Alcaraz.
Aye.
Commissioner Byler,
Aye.
Commissioner Camp,
Aye.
Vice Chair Costin,
Aye.
Commissioner Cromwell,
Aye.
Madam Chair Cuellar,
Aye.
Commissioner Hippen,
Aye.
Commissioner Munch,
Aye.
Commissioner Plumley.
Aye.
By a recorded vote of 9-0, the May 14th, 2025 formal minutes and the June 5th site visit minutes have been, the May 21st, 2025 comprehensive plan workshop minutes have been recommended for deferral.
And Madam Chair, finally, I move that the minutes of the June 5th site visit be adopted as corrected.
Second.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Camp for approval with modification on the June 5th site visit minutes, seconded by Commissioner Hippen.
The vote is open. By a recorded vote of 8-0 with one abstention from Commissioner Plumley, the June 5th, 2025 site visit minutes have been recommended for approval.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. The next order of business for consideration is the withdrawal or deferral of an item. Are there any applicants here for withdrawal? Seeing none, are there any applications here for deferral?
Madam Chair, we've been informed that the applicant for agenda item 6 is submitted for deferral of that matter for 30 days. And if there's, I don't know if anyone's here to object to that, but I would make a motion to support the deferral for 30 days.
Second.
We have a motion on the table for the deferral for agenda item number 6, YPB LLC, made by Commissioner Plumley, seconded by Commissioner Hippen. Are there any planning commissioners abstaining on this item to defer?
Yes, Madam Chair, after consultation with the city attorney and pursuant to a letter on file, although I am not required to abstain under the State Conflicts of Interest Act, I choose to do so in the interest of the city and this commission.
Thank you very much.
The vote is open. Commissioner Camp? Thank you. By recorded vote of 8-0 with 1 abstention from Commissioner Camp, item number 6, YPB LLC, has been recommended for a 30-day deferral.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The next order of business is the consent agenda. I'm going to turn that over to our Vice Chair Costin to run that portion of the meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Today we have 6 items on the consent agenda. These are applications that are recommended for approval by staff, and the Planning Commission concurred, and there are no speakers signed up in opposition. Our first items are items 4 and 5. Residential Rental Properties LLC property owners. Is there anyone here today to represent this item?
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the Planning Commission and staff. For the record, my name is Lisa Murphy. I'm a local zoning attorney with an office at 440 Monticello Ave in the city of Norfolk. Here today on behalf of FWM Residential Rental Properties LLC and its agenda items 4 and 5. 4 is the conditional rezoning R5S to RT3 for the small city water parcels at the far southern corner of what you can see on your map. And then the modification of conditions would be to include those in the previously approved conditional use permit, which was approved by City Council back in January. We concur with the 9 modified conditions that have been proposed by staff, and we appreciate being placed on the consent agenda.
Thank you. Is there any opposition to this item being placed on the consent agenda? There being none, we've asked Commissioner Alcaraz to read this into the record.
All right, thank you. Agenda item 4 and 5. The applicant is FWM Residential Rental Properties LLC. The owners are FWM Residential Rental Properties LLC and the City of Virginia Beach for a conditional rezoning for R5S Residential Family District to RT3 and a modification of conditions at 310 and 312 Winston-Salem Avenue, 4 parcels directly south of 310 and 312 Winston-Salem Avenue. On February 27, 2025, the applicant submitted an excess city-owned property application to acquire parcels 28A and 28C from the City of Virginia Beach. The city agreed and voted to declare the parcels in excess of city's needs at their May 20th, 2025 hearing and authorized the city manager to sell the property to the applicant. For that reason, they've included it in their project, and we put it on consent agenda.
Thank you. Our next item for the consent agenda is Amanda Matthews, property owner, Village Church, conditional use permit. Is there a representative for this item today? Please state your name for the record.
Sure, Amanda Matthews.
Is there any opposition to this item being placed on the consent agenda? Do you accept the conditions listed? Thank you. Is there any opposition to this item being placed on the consent agenda? You may be seated. There being none, we will ask Commissioner Cromwell to lead this item into the record.
The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to operate a child care education center within an existing religious facility on R15 residential zone parcel. The applicant proposes no more than 18 children with expected ages to be served from 6 weeks to 4 years old. The building official, fire marshal, and Department of Education will determine the maximum occupancy for the child care education center. The proposed hours of operation are from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday. Drop-off will be from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pickup will be from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. There will be a total of 3 employees. Per section of 203 of the zoning ordinance, a child care education center requires 1 parking space per 300 square feet of floor area. The 12,000 square foot building requires 40 parking spaces and the site is served by 64 parking spaces. As such, we suggest this for the consent agenda.
Thank you. Our next item on the consent agenda is item 9, Hope and Care and Love Home Healthcare Services, LLC property owner. Is there anyone here to represent this item today?
Good afternoon.
Please state your name for the record.
Sherry Farabee.
Are the conditions acceptable to you?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You may be seated. Is there any opposition to this item being placed on the consent agenda? Seeing none, we've asked Commissioner March to read this item into the record.
The applicant is Hope Care and Love Home Healthcare Services LLC, and the property owner is Holland Office Park LLC. The applicant is seeking a conditional use permit to operate an adult daycare facility on this 2.04 acre parcel zoned I-1 Light Industrial District. The adult daycare facility will provide a day support service to individuals ages 18 and older with intellectual disabilities. The facility places a strong emphasis on promoting the development of positive, socially appropriate behaviors as alternatives to challenging behaviors. The proposed conditional use permit for an adult daycare facility is, in staff's opinion and Planning Commission's opinion, acceptable, so we find it acceptable to be placed on the consent agenda.
Thank you. Our next items on this consent agenda are 11 and 12. Diane Org, property owner, conditional use permit. Please state your name for the record.
Rebecca Schneider.
Thank you. Are the conditions acceptable to you?
Yes.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you.
Is there any opposition to this item being placed on the consent agenda? Seeing none, we've asked Commissioner Plumlee to read this item into the record.
The applicant, Diane Ong, is seeking conditional use permits for 2 short-term rentals at 905 Pacific Avenue, Unit A, and another at 927 Pacific Avenue, Unit B. It has met with the requirements of the city ordinance. The planning staff has recommended its approval, and there is no objection from any member of the Planning Commission. Therefore, it's placed on this consent agenda.
Thank you. Madam Chair, that was the last item on the consent agenda. The Planning Commission places the following applications on the consent agenda: items 4 and 5, 8, 9, and 11 and 12.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to approve by consent as read by the Vice Chair?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion to, hearing the second, are there any Planning Commissioners abstaining? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda by Commissioner Plumlee and seconded by Commissioner Costin.
The vote is open. By a recorded vote of 9-0, items 4, 5, 8, 9, 11, and 12 have been recommended for approval by consent.
Thank you very much. If you had an application that was on the consent agenda, your request will now be scheduled for an upcoming City Council meeting. Staff will contact you about the date. For those applicants on the consent agenda, thank you for your time today and your participation in this meeting. You are now free to leave. Our next order of business is the regular agenda, and Madam Clerk, I'll ask that you please call the first item.
The first items we'll be hearing are items 1, 2, and 3. Item number 1 being Hartshill Reynolds, Portia McGraw, Sharon McPherson, Edward Thomas, and Ronald Hayes, trustees for Turning Point Church and Ministries, formerly known as Agape International Church. Item number 2, Keelingwood Apartments, and number 3, Franklin Group Companies, LLC.
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the Commission. I wanted to start by briefly thanking Commissioner Alcaraz for all his service to the city. It's been a pleasure working with you over the last number of years and wish you the best in the future. First, I wanted to introduce the principals of the applicant that are joining me today. The applicant is Franklin Group Companies, LLC, and we have three of the principals here with us today, including Taylor Franklin, James Noel, and Freddie Fletcher. In terms of this application, back in 2023, City Council approved the rezoning of approximately 6.26 acres from AG1 and AG2 to conditional A18 with a workforce housing overlay, which property was located just west of the Municipal Center, south of Princess Anne Road. That project, which is called the Silo, the applicant would like to expand by 2.3 acres by acquiring the acreage from the Turning Point Church, which is located just adjacent to the east. The land would be used primarily for two purposes. First, to acquire the stormwater pond that's currently on the Turning Point site, which stormwater pond would be expanded and improved to current standards and would be used to drain not only the Turning Point Church site still, but also the Silo project. Additionally, a three-story, 24-unit additional multifamily structure would be constructed on the additional 2.3 acres, all of which 24 units will qualify as workforce housing under the city's program. There are other benefits to acquiring this land. The land allows us to improve the site plan significantly in a couple of different ways. First, it allows us to lower the height of a number of the residential structures on the property, whereas in the 2023 application, 4 out of the 5 buildings were 4 stories in height. Under the current application, 4 of the 6 buildings are down to 3 stories in height, with the only 2 4-story buildings being in the back of the site, away from Princess Anne Road and towards George Wythe. Additionally, we're able to spread the buildings out more with this additional acreage, which gives us the opportunity to provide additional usable recreational open space, particularly in the middle of the site in between the core of the residential buildings. And then finally, the additional space allows us to have a far more efficient parking layout that more evenly distributes the parking all around the property, closer to the units that they serve. Otherwise, the design of the project remains largely as it did in 2023. All of the units remain outside of the ITA, as Marshall indicated during the informal session this morning. Tenant access would solely be provided off George Wythe to the rear of the site. No access for tenants would be provided off Princess Anne. And then the architecture, would remain just as it was in the 2023 application. Finally, of course, it's well established that the need for affordable housing is a critical need throughout the city. As I mentioned, the 24 units that would be added as part of this application would all qualify as workforce housing units under the city's program. That's in addition to the 53 units that were proffered as workforce housing units in the 2023 application. So there would be a total of 77 workforce housing units provided in the site, or 38% of the overall development, which would go a long way towards addressing this need. So with that, we certainly thank you for your time and consideration of this application. We'll stand by for questions.
Are there any questions for the applicant? No questions at this time? Commissioner Camp?
Sure. Thank you for your presentation.
Yes, sir.
Do you also represent the church trustees?
I do not represent the church trustees. I understand the church trustees, at least one representative is here with us today.
Very good. Then I will hold my questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Beeman? Commissioner Byler?
Hi, Attorney Beeman. Thanks for being here today, and
Yes,
thanks
ma'am.
for educating me on this. I just want clarification of one thing. When you were drawing distinction at these buildings being lower than the others and parking, et cetera, you're not suggesting that there will be any reduction of the number of housing on the site that was previously approved by City Council, are you?
That's correct.
Okay, so you're just saying going forward, it won't be as tall.
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And so it's my understanding from Mr. Beeman that there's a representative here for the church, if the applicant would like to come forward. Welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Edward Thomas. I'm one of the trustees and elders at Turning Point Church. And
Good afternoon. I'm Sherman Smith. I'm one of the members at the church, and I'm also the listing agent too on the property.
Thank you very much for being here today. Certainly you have an opportunity. You have 10 minutes if you'd like to share something about this application with us.
So originally we met with the church in 2023. The church supports the project moving forward. Where the church has been a vital employee in the community, also working with the courts and people coming out of the prison. We have a ministry that provides packages for those who were recently, released from incarceration. Also, as far as outreach for Turning Point Church, it's been vital for our community. We do various outreach ministries in the area to the existing structures that are already there. It's just going to give us a great opportunity to provide services for the incoming residents and also to spread the word. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Commissioner Camp, there's a question. If you could just wait for a moment, please.
Thank you so much for coming today. I have two questions for you, please.
Yes, sir.
As part of this transaction, you're selling a portion of your church property that contains your stormwater retention pond. Is it your understanding that the purchaser, through its future improvements to that area, will be accommodating all of your church's stormwater requirements?
Yes, that's our understanding.
All right, thank you so much. My second question relates to your future driveway. That the site plan we received does not show the ballpark area where that driveway might run, because the driveway out to Princess Anne will be removed as part of this change. And that's a challenge for us, having essentially a landlocked parcel that we're being asked to now evaluate without knowing exactly how in the future someone's going to get into it. Specifically, why that's important to me as a commissioner is that we're going to talk quite a bit about George Wythe Drive, the 2-lane road behind these various properties. The driveway entrance is going to take up some frontage on that road, which will remove some on-street parking. Also, we don't know the relationship between this driveway and the buildings that the buyer wants to build. Will it be next to it? Will it be far away from it? We don't know. We also don't understand the relationship of the now 3 properties that will be using that road, your church, the applicant's proposed housing development, and the existing housing development, which are hundreds of cars onto this small 2-lane road, understanding where these driveways might relate to one another. Generally speaking, do you have any idea where that driveway might be on the property in the future?
No, sir. At this time, we are still evaluating where we're going to put the driveway, because we did have a change to the acreage that was originally proposed. So we're working with our team to come up with some drawings on how we're going to propose to do the driveway addition.
Thank you for your answer.
Are there any additional questions for the speaker? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, are there any speakers for this item?
We do have one speaker signed up in opposition. Tom Luckman.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. My name is Tom Luckman, 3192 Galahad Drive, Virginia Beach. The site that we see, it had been approved. If you remember, when council approved it, then Councilman Taylor indicated it was the worst attempt at an apartment complex that he had seen, and that was his field of employment since college. They've expanded it. The problems for the community remain. They've been cited to you at least very thoroughly by the Transition Area ITA CAC. Citizens showed up in numbers, some 400, when council addressed this. My personal opinion is the workforce housing issue prevailed. Mr. Beeman slipped of the tongue earlier when he said affordable housing, but he corrected himself. Let's not worry about what we have here. We worry about precedent being set, the urbanization of the transition area. This is part and parcel to that. Please, as you go forward, make sure that you look to what the guidance that the citizens have, their involvement in the process, and the lack, or I should say, the attempt at urbanization of the transition area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Luckman. Mr. Beeman, you have an opportunity to rebut if there are no other speakers.
There are no other speakers at this time.
No, thank you. Okay. So at this time, I would like to open up the conversation to the commission and entertain a motion. Commissioner Plumley.
Yes, thank you for that recognition. Madam Chair, I do move to approve this application, all of them, to accomplish what I think is an improvement to what's been previously approved by both this body and the City Council. It's an increase in workforce housing. It incorporates the project into the larger scheme of that area, addresses stormwater, reduces the height of several structures there, creates an opportunity to remove that entryway into the church. So I think it's a benefit, and we have to look forward. We could go back and pick over the past for the rest of our futures together, or we could look forward. We do need housing. We still need housing. We need it more now than we did when this project was approved. So based on that, I move that we approve this project.
Thank you. So there's a motion on the floor to approve agenda items number 1, 2, and 3 by Commissioner Plumley. There's a second by Commissioner Costin. Is there additional discussion? Commissioner Cromwell.
I'd like to make a motion for denial in response to Commissioner Plumley's motion. I see this as a great opportunity to right a previous wrong. I don't believe the building of the silos is in the best interest in the future of the city, especially in the below the green line. This is the transition area where the overall zoning is supposed to be 1 unit per acre. And at a critical time when we're getting ready to update the comprehensive plan, I see this as a step backwards as it's going to set precedent. And the development is far too ambitious. But let me say that I'm in total support of workforce housing. I think that is a needed facility that we need in the city, but not in this location.
Thank you, Commissioner Cromwell. As a point of order from our attorney, I just want to clarify if Commissioner Cromwell is making a substitute motion, that will need a second, or it's just part of the discussion and we would just vote on what's on the floor.
There will need to be a second, or the motion will die. So there would have to be a second and then discussion on either motion. And then there would be a vote to make the substitute motion the main motion. And then a vote on the substitute motion.
Okay, Commissioner Cromwell, then is it your intent to put a motion on the floor for denial? Or we stay with the original motion that's been seconded?
Do it one more time now.
I know, I just wanted to clarify our procedures. We have a motion on the floor for approval
right.
with a second. And then I just wanted to clarify your comments. You're offering a substitute motion
Correct.
for denial, and then I would need a second.
Here I am.
Yes?
I would like to second Commissioner Cromwell's motion to deny this. I was a no vote on the original motion for a couple of reasons. The main one is because this is below the green line. I had, as we are going through the workup of changing things here as we are going through the comprehensive plan, I've received several emails from folks asking us to maintain the green line and also to put specific wording in the comprehensive plan. As I stated when this came through the last time, this is in direct line with Oceana's, one of their main runways, and that concerns me. I think that we should have workforce housing. I agree, but not here.
Okay.
So now there would be a vote to make the substitute motion the main motion on the table.
Okay. So then we need another motion to make the substitute. That's what I thought. Okay. So with the advice that we have now, we need to have, I'd like to call for a motion for the substitute motion to be the main motion, right?
Just to clarify, with this vote, it would either approve or disapprove making Mr. Cromwell's motion the motion for our consideration.
Correct. And Mr. Cromwell, you can make the motion if you would like.
Okay, I have a question. I thought when a substitute motion was made that you had to do an up or down vote, and that would determine whether or not the motion, nope.
No, City Council does it that way because in their policy document, that's how they run their meeting, but you do not have the same provision in your procedure document. So according to Robert's rules, there would need to be a motion to make the substitute motion the main motion and a vote to determine that issue. And if it is made, then that would be what would be voted on Mr. Cromwell's motion. And then in the event that it was approved, it would be a denial, a recommendation for denial. In the event that it was not approved, then we would revert back to the original motion would still be on the table.
Thank you.
Make my motion for denial. Is that right, Tori? Is that what you need?
I think you're looking to make your motion the main motion, your substitute motion the main motion.
You're moving to make your motion the main motion, is what she said.
Okay, yes, I move my, I'd like to
That's okay.
make my motion the main motion.
Second.
Please.
Okay, so there's a motion for the substitute motion to be the main motion by Commissioner Cromwell, seconded by Commissioner Hippen.
The vote is open.
You got to be the mover.
Right, we're not voting.
By a vote of 5-4, the motion to make the sub-motion the main motion has passed.
So now the next vote that will take place in the discussion that is at hand is on Mr. Cromwell's motion to deny this application.
Thank you for the clarification on our procedure. The floor is open for continual discussion. Commissioner Alcaraz.
I'm going to go ahead and support what Mr. Plumlee had stated. I heard it loud and clear last time we voted, and we did vote for it, that height was an issue, and I think they've taken care of that on this application. So again, I'm going to support it.
Commissioner Cromwell, did you want to speak right now?
Well,
Yes.
yeah, I can just, in the original application, one of the things that was so striking as far as the silos is concerned was the transfer of development density from a previous project. And that in itself raises a lot of questions about the future, the way we're going to do business. And I just don't think that's acceptable at all. In addition to what Mr. Luckman said, there were 29 people against the application, and it took up 3 hours and 45 minutes of the city council meeting clearly the public is against this project. It's just in the wrong place. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Mouch?
So I did watch the Planning Commission meeting live when the silo vote was taken. And I don't know why, but I rewatched it recently just to hear the concerns. I was fortunate enough to not have to be on Planning Commission when this vote was taken up. But had I been in this seat, there's absolutely no way I could have voted for it. And I think what we have here today is we don't have the silos on the table. We have something that's being added to that's going to either help or hurt what we have already established is going to be the case. And I do not believe that this is the appropriate place for workforce housing. I do not believe that this is the appropriate place for density. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter what we do today, that's going to be there with the silos. So the real question is, does this help? And this is what I've said to myself the entire time. Does this help what we have there or hurt what we have there? We are adding density, but we're kind of spreading it out. The concerns of the citizens had to do with a lot of the height. And as somebody had mentioned, they're reducing it on some, although there's still a variance for allowing for more height. It may add a little bit more of a traffic impact, but it's off of the main road because it's a access restricted road. Stormwater is going to be the same, if not maybe improved a little bit, maybe more so on the developer's end for the ability to not have to go as much underground. Everything else is very similar. So this is not easy for me because I wouldn't have supported the project from the very beginning. But we're past that, and now does this help the project or hurt the project? And I see positives here. I see some negatives with adding density, but I think overall, I have to believe that this is a little bit better of a project as a whole than what we would have if we deny this, because all the density will now be on that acreage that they have the ability to put it on. So it's just my thoughts.
Thank you, Commissioner Mouch. Commissioner Byler and then Commissioner Camp.
Commissioner Mouch verbalized a lot of my concerns as well, so I'll try not to be redundant. I opposed it the first time in City Council. I'm glad I didn't have to make that vote for City Council because it's a tough one. We need housing, we know that. A couple of things that are important to me. While I hear that this will make the overall project better in some regards, well, clearly it doesn't in others. We're putting buildings where it was undeveloped before. So yeah, we're dealing with runoff, but we're creating more runoff. We're adding 200 apartments, so we're creating more density, even though I hear, well, it's spread out, so in some ways of looking at it, it's less dense. It was 200 more apartments. So it's more cars. And then I hear, well, but the parking will be nicer, it'll be closer to the apartment, but it's still more cars. The public was very much opposed to it the first time. I'm not hearing that outcry this time. I don't know if they've just become discouraged that their voices aren't being heard, or if in fact they don't oppose this. That's hard to know. But in all of our comprehensive plan workshops, we're being told over and over again, it's way up there on priority, respect the green line. And I respect the ITA. So to make it more dense is a problem for me. Ultimately, I'm inclined to support the commissioner from District 2, Mr. Cromwell, because he knows his area better than I do. I'm up and down here all the time, but I do appreciate that it's his district.
Commissioner Camp?
No project is all good or all bad. Projects have many facets to them, and we can compare them to prior projects or what ifs of what might happen. But really, we're asked as planning commissioners to deal with what is before us today. If I wanted to entertain the analysis of is it better or worse, I would not compare a prior 6 acres to a future 8 acres. I would look at 8 acres and compare it to 8 acres and say 176 units were approved on 6 of them, and the most you could build on the other 2 acres might be about 2 units. So maybe you'd get about 178 units if 2 different developers worked on these parcels versus 200 units if you consolidate them. To my mind, if you wanted to entertain that type of analysis, this is a far more intense usage than what would otherwise happen if it was denied. But that's not really where I want to be with the analysis here today. Fundamentally, I believe that the applicant, and let me correct myself, there are 3 applications, there are 3 applicants. I am troubled by the fact that we were given a site plan that doesn't have a driveway, and so very basic things that we work with day to day on safety, we can't work with here. We often move a fence or a bush to make sure that there's a safe sight line. We weren't afforded the opportunity to do that here. That said, I heard from the church trustees that they think the buyer is going to take care of their future stormwater needs. But when I read the proffers only relate to the portion of the land that is being purchased, not the rest of the church's land. That may be a misunderstanding, but having been up and down with staff on this, I think to the exhaustion of staff, I read what I read here. Most importantly to me on this decision is the parking study. I find that the parking study, while performed professionally, is not credible. And I bring this up because the parking study relates to the largest amount of the land use that would have a material difference on what else is going on in these parcels. Specifically, the zoning administrator has found that this development may operate with 34 fewer parking spaces than would ordinarily be required. The basis for that is the provision of 11 bicycle racks for 11 bicycles, a bus that runs by once an hour, taking 45 minutes to get to the ocean front, or nearly an hour with transfer at TCC to get to Newtown Road, but once an hour. The use of on-street parking on George Wythe, which I've looked at throughout the times of the day, throughout the days of the week, and appears to be bumper-to-bumper parking at all times that residents are home. I don't know how that could be relied upon in any application to afford additional parking for a new development. And then subtracting from that, some of those on-street spaces are going to be removed for the driveway for the silo and the driveway for the church. There is a statement that some people will walk to work, and perhaps some will. But when I add these things up, it is not credible that they substitute for 34 parking spaces. Fundamentally, the market being sought here are folks who have to report to work on time, whether they are educators, healthcare workers, public safety officials. They do not have the opportunity to arrive at their leisure at work. And so transportation is essential to them. I believe a person in that position is not going to risk their job over the things that we just accepted as a substitute for parking spaces. I believe they're going to bring a car, and there isn't enough room for all the cars that they're going to bring, and that changes the whole dynamic of the land here. I am troubled by the building height deviation because it is 57% over the limit. It is not a modest ask. The limit is 35 feet. They are seeking to build to 55 feet. That is substantial. It'll be the tallest residential building in this area. With regard to the density, I believe that the interpretation of the relevant comp plan and subplan sections is not accurate, or shall I say, it has been selectively drawn. And what I'm referring to there is a reference that I've heard several times to greater density in the courthouse area. That originates in a portion of the plan that is comparing the courthouse area to the immediately surrounding areas, which has been previously mentioned are at a very low density. It is not greater density in comparison to Shore Drive, to the resort area, to SGAs along 264. And so to come to a density of 24 units per acre, 23.26, is out of character to me with what the comp plan is telling us. It's the wrong comparison. And in fact, the draft comp plan does not permit density bonuses below the green line, and that is what would be done here. For these reasons, I cannot vote to support this particular package of applications. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Camp. Commissioner Plumley?
So my understanding in dealing all these months with these projects is, with regards to stormwater, there is going to be requirement that there not be volumes taken off any of these sites with regards to these improvements. Is that correct? I just want to ask staff that.
Yes, that is correct. They'll have to evaluate for both the church draining into the pond and this new development draining into the pond or any underground systems.
Okay. The stormwater, I think, is not an issue here. I think, if anything, we're improving conditions for better management with this application. Obviously, we're increasing workforce housing, parking. We have a workforce that a large number of people work remote. They're seeking to work remote. They want to work remote. I deal with that question monthly, people that need to work remotely, and that's more and more accepted with our workforce. Housing is still the number one issue in this city for us to address as a commission. I too want to protect the green line. I just simply disagree with the premise that we're comparing anything other than the project in front of us to what we've previously approved. That's what we have. And we're seeking to improve it by lowering stories, by increasing open space, having better access in and out of this location. That's why I support this. I support it initially because we need the housing. We needed the workforce housing. We took that initial project from being a 17% workforce housing to being a 30% workforce housing project, which was a major step forward. These are issues we can't continue to ignore, and we need to address them. But more importantly, I would never recommend that we not approve something that benefits a project because I'm still upset with the initial approval of the last. I have to get over that and look at what's in front of us. And so that's why I support this project.
Thank you, Commissioner Plumley. Commissioner Alcaraz?
I think Mr. Plumley brought it up. I just want to make sure for clarity that this is I heard someone say something about questions on the stormwater, and then I heard Marcel, our city staff, say that there will be stormwater. And the applicant also said it's a joint venture for stormwater. I just want clarity on that. Is this a joint venture with the pond for that? Can you come up?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Alcaraz, the arrangement between the parties is that there will be an easement provided for the church so they continue to drain into the pond the same way they do now. We've actually prepared the easement and sent that over to their attorneys. They're represented by Sykes Perdon.
All right, so there is a potential design. It's just got to be worked out through the city. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Cromwell?
George, Commissioner Alcaraz, you have to also remember that the pond that that they want to acquire is not going to alleviate the stormwater problem, the potential stormwater problem. They're still going to have underground storage.
I'm aware of that. I'm sure that the city staff will probably be doing a review on that to make sure it makes all the ordinances.
Commissioner Costin.
Is it my understanding, though, that if we deny this, they can still build on the 6 acres at the 5-story height?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, then I'm going to vote not to deny because I feel that it is an improvement.
Commissioner Camp.
I have one quick comment based on Commissioner Plumlee's comparison with regard to open space. There's currently 2 acres of open space on the church land, that a portion of which will be developed, that will be diminishing open space if we approve this, not increasing it.
You can send me an email. But I hear you.
Commissioner Mouch.
I think it should be noted that this project and the consternation that it's caused within the community and the people that specifically live in that area, I think it just highlights how when we move forward with this new comp plan, we need to make sure that we're putting things in place so that we can address things like these, so we don't have to worry about having these types of conversations anymore. So,
Thank you very much. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Byler?
Looks like I'm following you again, Commissioner Mouch, but I appreciate what you just said. And let me just note, there's another application that's coming up today before us that's going to provide for housing and redevelopment. And it's in an area where I don't know that there's any opposition because it makes sense. Putting workforce housing way down at the courthouse without adequate transportation options, for lack of a better expression, it does concern me. But putting a higher density housing and redeveloping shopping centers in areas where people can find jobs and get on buses, and that makes sense to me. So I think that's a big part of our job as planning commissioners, is to put things in the right place.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Can I call a question, please?
So there is a motion on the table?
Yes, so this vote will be on Commissioner Cromwell's motion to deny the application.
So I'm going to ask the clerk to please read the motion.
Are you talking about the original or the second motion that Commissioner Cromwell made?
The motion that's on the table, I'm just going to ask that you could please read it back to the commissioners.
Okay, so the motion would be to deny agenda item 1, 2, and 3.
Thank you.
And the vote is open. Okay, so by a vote of 4 to 5, the agenda items 1, 2, and 3 have been.
There's still a motion on the table.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Back to me.
All right, so then we're back to the original motion by Commissioner Plumlee to approve, and it was seconded by Commissioner Costin.
The vote is now open. By a recorded vote of 5 to 4, items 1, 2, and 3, with items 1 being Hartzell Reynolds, Portia McGraw, Sharon McPherson, Edward Thomas, and Ronald Hayes, trustees for Turning Point Church and Ministries, formerly known as Agape International Church. Item number 2 being Killingwood Apartments LLC, and item 3, Franklin Group Companies LLC, have been recommended for approval. Madam Chair, are we ready for our next item?
Yes, next item, please.
Agenda item 7, BH Cypress Point MF Development LLC.
Hello again, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the commission. Again, for the record, my name is Rob Beeman, local land use attorney at the Troutman Pepper Law Firm, here today on behalf of the applicant BH Cypress Point MF Development LLC, which is an affiliate of Boyd Homes based here in Virginia Beach. I'm joined this afternoon by a couple of principals of Boyd Homes, including Justin Boyd and Chris Bullock. This application involves the Cypress Point Shopping Center, which has been impacted by significant vacancy, particularly with respect to its anchor tenant, a former grocery store. The applicant proposes to redevelop the center with a true mixed-use project, which would include a number of uses, including commercial retail, office, restaurant, townhome, and multifamily residential as well. The eastern portion of the existing center would be left in place and completely refurbished and reskinned, and there would be one additional commercial building added to that part of the site. The western portion of the shopping center would be demolished and would be redeveloped for residential uses. There are a couple of key aspects of the site design that I wanted to call your attention to. First, the applicant has done, in my opinion, a great job in saving existing mature vegetation throughout the site, including a large hedgerow on the back end of the site, providing buffering for the residential nearby, and also along both surrounding rights-of-way, Diamond Springs and Wesleyan. There are really tall canopy trees that are going to be left in place as part of this application. Additionally, the applicant has worked with the planning department to identify opportunities for additional pedestrian connectivity, both internal to the site and external as well. Those include a new sidewalk that we're proposing to construct along Fallbrook Bend, kind of on the side of the site, stamped or colored concrete connections internally to the site, connecting the various uses, but also connecting the uses on the site to the surrounding rights-of-way, and then multiple connections to a public park, which is just to the rear of the site. Additionally, the height and intensity of the uses on the site has been designed to step down as the development approaches the residential in the back. It starts at its highest and most intense up near the commercial intersection of Diamond Springs and Wesleyan and slowly works down towards the residential in the rear. It's also important to note the applicant has proffered an affordability component to this development. 7% of the units, which is 24 units, would be reserved for folks earning no more than 100% of area median income for a period of 10 years. Finally, I did want to note that the applicant has conducted extensive public outreach in connection with this application, probably as much as I've seen an applicant do. My client has met with at least 10 civic groups and civic leagues as part of this application, many of them multiple times, and has had a number of conversations with individuals throughout the time we actually started public outreach in the October, September timeframe of last year. So this project would involve the redevelopment of an aging and largely vacant commercial center with a use that would still provide neighborhood level services and commercial uses, but would also provide needed housing in the city with an affordability component. With that, we certainly thank you for your consideration. We'll stand by for questions.
Commissioner Plumlee?
Mr. Beeman, can you explain what the area median income is?
Sure. That is sort of the average income in the Hampton Roads area. And for example, for a single person, it's about $70,000. And I believe a family of four, it's about $100,000.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Camp?
Thank you for the presentation.
Yes, sir.
If I understand this correctly, the specialized housing allowance for the 10 years is different. It's outside of the city's workforce housing formal program.
Yes, sir, that's correct. We don't need the density bonus that the workforce housing program provides, but we wanted to do something that sort of replicates that program to some extent.
So in this particular application, as some of my colleagues have noted, there are a couple of exceptions, but they're quite modest to the requirements that we would normally analyze this type of multifamily project under. would either you or your client like to tell us why you are making this gesture on the specialized housing below market when you don't have to?
No, I appreciate the question. I think we realize and understand that that's a critical need within the city. And in formulating this project, that was something that the client thought was important to include.
Thank you. I'll just use this opportunity to thank you and the client for, particularly with regard to the active transportation components that you mentioned. Yes, the standard would be wider sidewalks there, but the preservation of the tree canopy is important. We're often looking at projects where someone wants to diminish the requirement for walkways, bikeways, those types of things for private benefit. In this case, the applicant is looking at that diminishment for public benefit, to keep trees that shade the walkway that benefit the public at large, and I commend them for doing that.
Yes, thank you. And it's sort of the best of both worlds in that regard. The sidewalks are already wider than usual, 9 feet on Diamond Springs and 10 feet on Wesleyan. So we sort of get the best of both worlds, wide sidewalks, and we get to keep the existing mature vegetation. Thank you for that.
Commissioner Hippen.
I would like to make a motion to approve this project. This is where we need to put the denser housing. I think this project has done an outstanding job of doing a lot of the things that we're looking at. Maintaining the canopy, lowering the asphalt in the area. We're taking a defunct strip or shopping center area, and we're putting not just homes there, but we're also putting some retail there to support that. And I especially like the affordable, attainable portion of that. I think this is just a win-win situation.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Hippen, thank you so much for your motion. We do have one speaker, so if we could just pause for a moment. I know you're just getting ahead of yourself. You're excited. If we could just pause for a moment, and then we'll continue.
We are now up to 2 speakers. Our first speaker in support is going to be Andy DeRosa, followed by our speaker on WebEx in opposition.
Welcome. Hi. You can please state your name for the record.
My name is Andy DeRosa. I'm the president of the North Shore Ridgely Manor number 2 HOA. Mm-hmm. With me is Leslie Edmondson, who's the president of the Ridgely Manor and the Belmead condominium HOAs. So we are generally very supportive of this project. Justin Boyd has spoken with us and given us very detailed plans, and we really appreciate that. So we're generally supportive. We would ask that the commission work with Boyd and work with the surrounding communities to where we can make sure that we're doing this the best way that we can. It's a good project. It's taking as Ms. Hippen said, a kind of a decaying, dilapidated shopping area and turning it into something good. I would note that the application, and as you've seen, calls for 190 less parking spaces than the zoning essentially would normally call for. We're in total support of that. We don't want to see more asphalt or more parking spaces, but we would like to encourage the commission and Boyd to perhaps consider limiting the twin towers. There are 2 twin towers that will house 345 units. Perhaps in keeping with the reduced parking footprint, perhaps limit the number of units as well. Again, we'd like to kind of encourage the commission to keep in mind, we're talking about units, so there's 345 in the twin towers, 365 altogether. These also translate into people, into cars. So we're talking about 500 to maybe 700 additional people in an area that is not zoned for residential now. These are going to be new people coming into the area and new cars. So whatever we can do to possibly limit the number of units in the tower, we would be very supportive of. We're also very supportive of the maintaining the 9 and 10 foot sidewalks, maintaining the tree canopy. We'd like to encourage where we can, where the commission can. We have some examples of places that work well and some places that don't particularly work all that well. One example of what we'd like to kind of stay away from is the kind of the institutional look that is currently in the Nexus apartments off of Newtown Road. Kind of looks at institutional, a lot of black asphalt space. We'd like to kind of avoid that. What projects that do look good and look kind of what we would like to see is Hawken Mills with a lot of landscaping around the perimeter, the borderline, and Coastal 61, which is consistent with the city's own handbook, where the building is actually what you see rather than the parking. So we understand Boyd has their own kind of plan in place, and it does kind of reflect much of the handbook. But where we can, we'd like to work with the commission and work with Boyd to maximize kind of emphasizing the buildings and de-emphasizing the parking. And again, we're very much in favor of additional landscaping that's in addition to what's already there. So thank you. Appreciate your time.
Okay, just pause for a moment in case the commissioners have a question. Any question for the speaker? Commissioner Plumlee?
So you're requesting that we reduce the number of units in the towers, is that fair?
Yes.
Was there a recommendation? Was there a number?
Yes, if we could, and I know, and I certainly don't want to negatively impact Boyd's financial perspectives here, but the current plan calls for essentially 4 stories, two twin 4-story towers with some 5-story elements. If you limit that to those 2 twin towers to 3 stories, that would be more consistent with the surrounding areas. I think Coastal 61 is 4 stories without a 5th story. But if you limit it to 3 stories, that would reduce the overall number of units in the towers from 345 to slightly over 200. Again, they've already reduced the number of parking spaces that would ordinarily be called for in the zoning. If we could reduce the number of units, again, those 600 to 750 additional people would be slightly reduced, and those, 300, 400, 500 more cars would be slightly reduced too. So, we understand the developer has to make money, but that's something we'd like to kind of suggest that you consider.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Thanks for coming out today.
Thank you.
Our next and final speaker is Mr. Jerry Stout on WebEx in opposition.
Welcome, Mr. Stout.
Thank you. My name is Jerry Stout. Good afternoon, commissioners. Thank you very much for allowing Virginia Beach residents to participate in important decision-making that affects their neighborhoods. I want to share the one item that, if not properly addressed, is the basis of my opposition. That unacceptable item is the existing shopping center cinder block wall on the east side of the property line. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay, the screen said unmute me. I'm sorry. You heard from the applicant that wall is to remain. That wall is located directly on the property line, only a few feet away from the 26 Cypress Point homes. It has 0 setback. The unsightly, not maintained wall distracts from all of our affected homes, both aesthetically, and it also lowers our property value. If the planning commissioners decide to allow the existing 0 setback wall to remain, as this project proposes, the only way I could change my opposed stance is if the applicant corrects the existing unacceptable wall permanently. The fact that one picture is worth 1,000 words is the reason yesterday I emailed you just a few pictures of the wall in its current state of disrepair. I hope you got them. If you'd look at them, Please note that the shrubs shown in those pictures right up against the wall are just 3 feet from our patios and only 25 feet from our home. I want to go on the record stating that to follow corrective actions are required to repair those deficiencies that you see in the pictures. It would require the removal of all the exposed, abandoned, cut, and just wires hanging loose. As the pictures indicate, the original paint is peeling, loose, flaking, and mildewed. Please remember these ugly conditions are just a few feet away from our homes. The extensive paint repairs required are complete proper surface preparation followed by proper priming, a minimum of 2 coats of quality finish paint containing anti-mildew properties, and finally, after all the above repairs are finished, a complete area cleanup should be done. After all those repairs are satisfactorily accomplished, the applicant would be required to maintain those repairs in the future. Unless anyone has any question, that concludes my explanation for my opposition stance. Thank you for your time and careful consideration in this very important matter to us.
Thank you, sir. Just hold for one moment. Should there be any questions?
Certainly. Thank you.
Any questions for our speaker?
I'd like to ask the applicant if he'd take care of those things so he can hear it.
Well, now we'll have
Sorry.
Mr. Beeman come back and rebut.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Alcaraz. I think Mr. Stout's concerns illustrate why this project is so necessary. This is an aging center that is in need of refurbishment very, very badly, and that is exactly what this development would propose. We have proffered, in addition to the residential elevation, a commercial elevation which dresses up and completely rehabilitates the outside and the exterior of the commercial building that will remain in place. So Mr. Stout's concerns will be addressed as part of this, and that is included in the proffer.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Plumlee?
Mr. Beeman, the speaker for the local or the nearby residents had brought up the height of the towers. Can you address that?
Sure. The 2 apartment buildings would be 4 stories for the majority of their elevation, stepping up to 5 stories for the corner up against the commercial intersection, Wesleyan and Diamond Springs. That's the proposal.
Has there been consideration made to reducing the height?
Yeah, I think
and what effect that would have on your ability to do this work?
We have reduced the height to the extent we can. That's why the majority of the elevation is down at 4 stories now instead of 5. The density that's proposed is necessary to support the affordability component, but as some have mentioned, it's also, this is a good place for high density development in a shopping center where all the infrastructure is already in place. It's already a commercial center, and I believe the new 2040 plan identifies the rehabilitation of shopping centers and redevelopment of shopping centers as a place for higher density projects.
I understand the technical components of what you've just said, but I've just put it plainly, in order to afford the significant redevelopment of this aging structure and to accommodate this lower than market housing availability, this is an affordability issue. That is why those units are required. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Hippen?
I do have one question for you. When you stated the median incomes, I thought it was a bit high. I'm not sure where you got your figures from, but Google says one person median income in 2024 for Virginia Beach is $47,700, and for a family of 4 is $90,100. Where did your figures come from, sir?
My figure, they're actually published by HUD every year, and my figures were printed off of the city's website. The city's Department of Community Development or Neighborhood Preservation, I'm sorry, has the figures posted on the website. That's where I printed those off of.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think somebody else had a question.
Commissioner Byler?
Mr. Beeman, you indicated that your client is here. I wonder if your client would be willing to come up and to address the concerns from the call-in resident.
Sure. And just to clarify, Mr. Stout Colin, okay, the concerns about the attractiveness of the building.
Good day. My name is Justin Boyd with Boyd Homes.
Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Boyd. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for this ambitious application that you've heard a lot of us are very excited about. So the call-in opposition indicated that there's a concrete wall that is deteriorated. Generally, when retail or a different zoning abuts residential, a screening hedge is required to keep beautification so that neighbors don't have these concerns, but apparently that wasn't required this time. What is your plan for that wall moving forward?
That would be definitely addressed during the construction process of the commercial area over there. The way the wall was placed initially, I guess it's on the lot line. So we would need to coordinate access with those homeowners. Accessibility, I believe, has been the issue with it not being addressed up to this point, but it would most certainly be addressed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? At this time, we'll open it up for a discussion and a motion.
I would like to make a motion to approve this project for the reasons that I stated earlier.
Second.
So we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Hippen to approve and a seconded by Commissioner Plumley.
The vote is open.
Further discussion, Commissioner Mouch?
Yeah, I just wanted to address one thing that was asked, and I believe it came to parking in our traffic impact study that was given to us, or the traffic counts. I believe that this proposed use will generate less traffic than as if it's a business use. I just wanted to bring that up. I know that was a concern. It may not generate less than what it currently uses, but as if it were a business use in full capacity, I think is where they get the numbers from. So these are the numbers that they give us that we get to kind of go by. But I wanted to make sure that was addressed before, and I apologize, I didn't get your name. I would have usually write it down, but I didn't, so.
Commissioner Camp?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to follow up, and I do try to be consistent. And one of the prior applications, I went on quite a bit about the parking study, and you brought it up, sir. So what I would like to say about it, I studied this one also. The difference that I saw here is that unlike the prior one, which was a residential complex where we have a certain pattern of people being home or going off to work and school, typically during weekdays and so on, what we see in the development before us here in this application is a mix of uses. There are residences that will behave that way. There are commercial businesses, some of which are daytime uses. The restaurant might lend over to other times. This was a much more difficult parking problem to look at and figure out who might be where when. And I commend the zoning administrator in this case for trying to account for all of the pieces here in a way that if you just took the number of people who live there and say that doesn't seem like enough places, I understood what he was doing, and at least to me it was credible. And I say that to you as a person who was just as critical of the last one where I didn't think it was credible at all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Plumley?
Yeah, in addressing this, I just want to thank Boyd for bringing this project. Redevelopment is extremely expensive and difficult to outline and design. You didn't control the out parcels. You still went ahead with the very difficult layout. I think it will be successful in this location. I applaud the reduction in parking. I think we way over require parking in this city, and therefore we have a lot more available parking than we do places for people to live. And finding that the parking is suitable, I think it meets with both the outlook and the location here, as Mr. Camp pointed out. Anyway, I just wanted to applaud you for putting this forward. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion on the floor.
The vote is open. By a recorded vote of 9-0, item number 7, BH Cypress Point MF Development LLC has been recommended for approval. Our next agenda item is item number 10, Garth Gillespie.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I thought the clerk called you. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi, why don't you just bring the mic a little lower?
Oh, yeah.
If you could state your name, please.
Shepard Atkinson with Coastal Accommodations. Can you hear me?
Yes.
And I am representing Garth Gillespie. I'm not certain why this one is on the chat list. I thought it was for approval or, to move forward, but it's just a conditional use permit for a short-term rental.
Thank you very much. We do have a question.
Okay.
So if you would just be patient. Commissioner Plumley?
Yes, thank you very much for coming here. Can you tell us what is the arrangement with the city with regards to this parking site?
So 4 parking spaces are required. It's a 4-bedroom, and typically the other rentals that I manage, that need additional parking, I will work with a woman named Jessica. She's great at the 25th Street parking garage. And we typically just lease the parking spaces, if you will, and we have passes that we are able to give for additional vehicles that we are unable to accommodate.
So Coastal Accommodations manages a number of STRs, is that fair?
Yes, sir.
And so what you're saying is you have other locations where you're using 25th Street
Yes, sir.
parking. How many approximately?
So there are 9 townhouses on this particular property, on this parcel, on the 500 block of 22nd Street. I manage 29 houses total, but this particular location has 9 that I manage, and 4 of them need additional parking to meet the requirements, 4 of the townhouses. So I have probably 2, 4, 6, 7 parking passes on hand for those.
And those are like annual parking passes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any additional questions for the applicant? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, just to double check, do we have any speakers signed up for this application?
There are no speakers signed up.
Thank you very much. At this time, I'll open the floor for discussion and a motion. Commissioner Byler.
By way of discussion, I would just say that this is a little different than what I expected. I thought they were going to reserve the spots and then no one could use them ever, but it does seem different. Instead, it seems like it's just like prepaying for those spots, and I like that better. In my mind, if we're going to change the policy on allowing short-term rentals to use public parking, perhaps Vice Chair's comment during the informal that we should do it moving forward and not on the spot without giving proper notice to people. But I do like it that they're not taking those spots out of commission, so that if somebody's coming to the Dome to a show, and I understand parking can be a real concern, they'll have a place to park.
Commissioner Hippen?
I would just like to add that, so they've got parking passes, so that I understand that. But what happens if the parking facility is full? For example, if there is a popular show at the Dome, where are those people going to park is the question that I would have.
Director Warren will answer that question.
Right, so
Thank you.
I'm happy to answer that question. So Parking Management Office, when we have these short-term rentals, they have to actually apply for parking passes. The Parking Management Office reviews it. They check to see if they have capacity in the parking deck that's being requested, and then they either approve or recommend denial for the parking. In this case, the parking management office is working toward better technology for all of our parking garages, and they do everything by numbers and license plates. So if they have a certain number reserved, they will reserve those spaces if someone has a parking spot. That way they're not guaranteed where that parking spot's going to be, but guaranteed a spot in the parking garage.
So then the question that we had earlier, that these parking spots are taken away for residents, is the case then. So those parking spots are reserved for the short-term rentals is the bottom line.
If they're using their pass, yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mouch?
And I may have, I brought this up. I was the one to kind of bring this up, and I don't, unfortunately, this application, it just happened to be yours. Now, I do think that we have an opportunity here to see a problem and fix it. I think something that our short-term rental program does is it requires a space for every single room that we have, which is above and beyond what our zoning requires when they build these properties. In some cases, most cases. So it almost seems like it would be easier on staff, it would be easier on STRs, it would be easier on everybody, and then the free market would benefit, because if there's not enough spaces, they would have to go to a private lot or a public lot and then just pay as if it is, they need a space. I don't want this application to necessarily be hung up because of an issue that our city has put in place, whether it's on our side, their side, whose ever side, whenever we came up with the STR. And that was a giant mess through the whole thing. So maybe this got pushed to the side, and everybody said, oh yeah, no, let's do this. It seems like it's best. We'll have one per room. But I think we see that what it's doing is it's taking inventory away from the city. And maybe for no reason. I mean, we're talking about a 4-bedroom house that probably will have 2 families with 2 cars. Mm-hmm. And I just don't want reservations to be held during the busiest times of the year, which is also this STR's busiest times of the year for parking. Because we have heard it loud and clear, especially through the last election, about parking at that oceanfront and how difficult it is. And anybody who goes down there or wants to go down there knows that it is a giant issue. So I would like to not resolve this through the application, but it does bring us to a point of talking about this publicly so that we can kind of maybe fix this. And as we just went through our informal session, we had the STR recommendations, and that parking was a part of them. So maybe we should address this when we address those. And I don't know how it would work if we approve this today and these STR recommendations go into place. Do they therefore need to have the parking passes? So we'll see how that works out, but I don't want to hold this applicant up just solely for the reason that we really need to get our stuff together a little bit better on this aspect of it. So I'll let other comments, and then if the district representative wants to have a motion, or I'll make one later, it's okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Mouch. Commissioner Camp?
Yeah, just to button this up from my perspective, what I've learned here today is that this applicant is typical of many other applicants, some that have already been granted and others that are likely pending in this area. So I agree with Commissioner Mouch that treating this one applicant differently than the others is, in my mind, not appropriate. However, the STR task force recommendations do encompass parking, and we didn't fully explore that topic in our informal today. So I think apart from resolving this matter, perhaps before our next meeting, when we are under a council mandated deadline to do something, there might be an exchange in an appropriate manner between meetings of thoughts on how that text amendment might be changed in a way that picks up this bigger issue, and then it could be taken up by council for a more holistic application. But I don't want to get to the next meeting and then just start talking about it.
Thank you. Commissioner Alcaraz? Oh, I'm sorry, did you?
Yeah.
I thought you were.
I was going to make a motion, just since
We're ready.
my last one. I'd like to make a motion to approve the STR as stated.
Second.
So we have a motion to approve the application from Commissioner Alcaraz. We have a second from Commissioner Hippen. Was there any further discussion? Commissioner Mount, do you have your line?
Oh, sorry. No, but before we adjourn, maybe I can address something with this while we're still in session, if that's appropriate. But
All right,
go ahead, let's go with
do with
this.
the business we have at hand. Thank you.
Vote is now open. By a recorded vote of 8-1, item number 10, Garth Gillespie, has been recommended for approval.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioner Mouch?
Yeah, I was hoping maybe, is that the last agenda item? No, we still have one more.
Oh, I thought that was the last one.
Oh, that was the last, yeah. Wonderful. Well, to keep it brief, maybe we can talk about the text amendment really quick, just so that we can give guidance if everybody is in agreement that maybe we should just allow for STRs to do the same thing as if you were to build a house or grandfather it in like they were doing prior to when do as if it was grandfathered in. Would that be an issue? Because I don't want it to come back in June 9th and then we have to defer it for 30 more days or ask for a deferral, but then city council can't, they won't be able to address it in time.
Yeah, if you want to ask for a deferral, it would have to be, that request would have to be made today.
So would
If
we
you are
have the
looking for
ability,
additional time.
would we have the ability to recraft or talk
We
with?
can bring forward a text amendment that changes the parking that's required for all short-term rentals. The task force looked at parking for grandfathered properties. So grandfathered properties, based on the text amendment, would need to provide the number of parking spaces that were required when the home was constructed. Right now, typically for a single-family dwelling unit or an attached dwelling unit, you need 2 spaces per dwelling unit, where the short-term rental guidelines require 1 space per bedroom. So if that's something the commission wants us to look at, we can certainly pull a text amendment together for you to evaluate at your next hearing.
Would it be acceptable to give a kind of a yes or a no?
Yeah, we can do that. Okay. And we can look at it in July.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Thank you. All right, having no other further agenda items, we will adjourn. Thank you for participating today.